Hello, my name is Hauerslev. I live in Copenhagen in Denmark, and I am the editor of a website called in70mm.com. And it has been my pleasure to be involved with the Todd-AO process in the historical sense since many years. I've been fortunate to meet a few of the people who was behind the process, Brian O'Brien Jr. and Walter Sigmund. And thanks to them, I have shared a lot of information about Todd-AO history on my website in70mm.com. If you go to that page, you can see everything you want. Todd-AO came out of Cinerama and Michael Todd's wish to present what Fred Waller had developed in the late 1940s. Cinerama had a few shortcomings, so he decided he would like to make a process. The Todd-AO process was a system with many components. It was designed to be installed in any theater in the United States and in Europe and in the Far East or wherever you had a big cinema. It has a big curved screen like Cinerama. It has 30 frames per second at the film speed of 70mm film. This is 70mm film, very big image. It has a very big image, 5 perforations and a very wide piece of film. You can compare it to 35mm, which is only 35mm, 70mm and 35mm. So it is a large area that adds to the illusion of reality on a big screen. The engineers of American Optical Company set out to build a version of Cinerama, and that included a big curved screen like this. This is obviously a model of the big curved screen, around aspect ratio 2:1, almost like Cinerama, but not really Cinerama. This was something else. All these components of 70mm and Todd-AO, 30 frames per second, a large negative, high film speed, and everything made a very good illusion of reality. And it was, to begin with, a very big success. After a few years, after the third film actually, or the second film, film number 3, South Pacific, they reduced the film speed from 30 frames per second to 24 frames per second to make it easier to make print downs to 35mm films. The big curved screen was abandoned in favor of a more shallow curved screen, like a CinemaScope curve. Todd-AO is very famous for the very big bug-eye lens. But it turned out that the people who actually made the movies asked American Optical Company for more lenses of different focal length, because it was difficult to push this big bug-eyed lens, which was as large as a dinner plate, into the face of people, because it felt strange. So they also made a 64-degree lens, which is probably much lesser known, but this is the original Todd-AO 64-degree lens. It has a focal length of around maybe 44mm, and the big bug-eye was 22mm. That's a fisheye lens, more or less like a fisheye lens. Because things were extremely rushed when they developed the process to have the first camera rolling, they also purchased, the engineers also purchased off the shelf in the local photo shop, camera shop in Southbridge, regular German Schneider lenses and rehoused them so they would fit into the new Todd-AO camera. So this is a maybe 37-degree lens, I don't actually know, but it's actually a German lens, so you can say with a little smile that most of Oklahoma will film with German lenses, German quality lenses. One of the challenges in the development of Todd-AO was they needed a 70mm projector to be able to project the large pictures. And the head of development, Brian O'Brien, he knew an engineer in Holland by the Dutch film company, Philips company, sorry. And in a very short time, from the beginning of 1953 and well into 1954, they came up with the famous Philips DP70 projector. This is the Todd-AO projector, AA2 in the United States. And this is an amazing machine. You can read a lot about it on in70mm.com. Around 1,500 machines were made of this extraordinary machine. It won an Oscar, as you can see on the big screen. Old Oscar was awarded to the DP70 projector. This machine can still be found in Pictureville in Bradford. If you turn around and look up into the projection room, you can see one of these machines installed there 20 years ago actually. It came from Denmark, and well, yours truly sent it over to the Bradford team. But not only Todd-AO, it was also needed to be able to run 35mm film. And upon delivery of the machines to the cinemas, it was actually set up for 70mm. But with a few changes, the machines could be adapted to run 35mm. And in this box, I have this conversion set. This is the film gate for 70mm. It's a big piece of iron with the film gate. You have to imagine that the film runs like this through the machine. So this piece could be exchanged in the projector for a 35mm equivalent. So the machine could run 70mm and 35mm. It was an amazing piece of work. And this nice oak wooden box was delivered with all the machines, with everything you need to go from one format to another format. In 2002, I had a very special visitor in my home in Copenhagen. And that was Walter Sigmund. And Walter, he was one of the engineers. He was actually the person sent to New York by Brian O'Brien to witness Cinerama in those days. And he came up with this expression called "wow" when he saw how Cinerama worked. And the next clip you will see is a short piece about how did they come up with the different elements of Todd-AO. So here you are, Walter Sigmund, 2002, about Todd-AO.
Mike Todd had approached Dr. O'Brien, and in fact I was present on the first meeting. He insisted that Dr. O'Brien come to New York to see the Cinerama process, but Dr. O'Brien, for whatever reason, felt that he wouldn't go. But in any case, it was arranged that I should go in his place and make an evaluation. I met with Mike Todd Jr., and the following day he escorted me to the theater, and I saw a demonstration of Cinerama. One of the few things that Dr. O'Brien asked me to do was to measure the screen brightness. And I took a series of measurements of the screen brightness as though that were really important. The important thing was, of course, was the overall screen quality and then the complexity of the system, all of which I reported to in one form or another. But when I called him, and I think he asked me to do this, I did use the well-known expression "wow," and it was a wow situation, no question about it, because at that time I was very intrigued with all kinds of motion pictures, and to see this demonstration was, well, it was very, very special. It was the best I'd ever seen of any motion picture, and wow was a simple way to express that feeling. Cinerama made a magnificent showing of a wide-angle system, but it didn't have the versatility to begin with for storytelling, which is one aspect of it. But the worst aspect of it was that it used up a tremendous number of seats in the theater. It was a very costly installation, required 3 projection booths, which at that time had to be manned separately. That was another cost factor. What the theater owner would like to do is to install the least equipment that he can get to get the full benefit of the system. Cinerama, as I say, was a tremendous display of cinematic technique. Yeah, I think it was quite early on that a decision was made that in order to establish a new standard of sharpness for a large picture, we needed to have more real estate on the film. It had to be bigger. So how could it be made bigger? Merely through width. And since many different widths have been used in the past, this was probably dictated, and I'm not sure quite how this is done, by the existence of some 65mm equipment that allowed us to have a chance to demonstrate some concepts early on by digging up this old equipment and reusing it. We found a 65mm camera made for the Thomas color process, which had about an 8-hole pull down, but could be modified to a 5-hole pull down. 5 was established by the width and height parameters that I just mentioned, something like a 2-to-1 ratio. 4 holes would not have been enough. That's the standard for the Academy film, 35mm film. But 6 holes would have been excessive and would have cost that much more in film. So 5 was the compromise made. I think it was done by a group of people just getting together and saying, this is rational, why don't we go with it?
Todd-AO premiered in 1955 after nearly 2.5 years of a lot of research, experimentation, and of course the production of Oklahoma. But what is left today, if anything, from Todd-AO? After around the world in 80 days, some changes were made. The film speed was reduced from 30 frames to 24 frames, and the need for big curved screens like this was also maybe not abandoned, but it was realized that you could use normal 70mm, normal CinemaScope curved screens equally as effective as the big curved screens. And what you have with Panavision, Super Panavision 70, is essentially all the good things about Todd-AO with 5 perf 70mm film, 6-track sound, good lenses, and very, very good cameras from Panavision, and also from Reflex in Germany. So that's about it, guys. That's the history of Todd-AO for you. Have a good festival. Thank you for listening.